Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to League Racing TV here for round number 4 of the CTC Console Championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action as we take in the Jeddah circuit. Apology for the delays with the stream starting. I was having issues with my internet and EA once I actually managed to get online. But yeah, we are here, round number 4. Qualifying has just got underway, so I'll try to be as quickly as I can with all of the pre-race stuff, and then we'll get into the action out there on track. Looking at the Jeddah circuit, of course, a 6.1 kilometer track in length, 3.8 miles, 27 corners around the tight and fast high-speed circuit where everyone is going to be risking nipping the walls on every single lap. Of course, our middle sector and the first sector especially is where you're going to see a lot of potential front wings being dropped off the cars out there. Of course, be prepared for the DRS zones. Of course, there are 3 DRS zones, one down the start finish straight, one down in towards turn number 22, and one down in towards 27. And of course, with that, having a look at the championship standings, the race from 2 weeks ago, actually, then into the championship standings. Of course, last time out in Suzuka, it was Ortiz that ended up taking the victory for TF10. It was a fantastic race in Japan. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend going back and watching it. And obviously, with Ortiz taking the victory, we had Lifeboat and Silo with a double ET8 podium, which of course does change things up quite dramatically in terms of the championship standings, because remember, Shazoo Cedar Igniters were quite some way ahead, but with Venom getting P4 and of course Finley down in 15th place, the gap has closed quite considerably. Looking at the driver championship, obviously Oscar still leads away ahead of Silo in second, Ortiz now climbing up to third, and then we got Oxcrew and Kevin Zumberg in 4th and 5th. Then we've got Wards, Rollercongan, Lifeboat, Predestinado, and FRT Caden rounding out the top 10. Now, looking at the team's championship standings, as you can see, only 5 points in it now after last week, where Shazoo CD Ignite is leading the way on 78 points. 73 points for ET8 Esports in second place. 5 points separating them, and it is going to be interesting to see what happens here tonight. Team TF10 in third on 56 points, with 46 points going the way of Evolution Racing. Future Racing Team currently P5 on 44 points. Then of course we got 24 points for Legacy Racing. All Elite Racing Team in 7th on 19 points. 18 points for Alien Motorsport in 8th. Bravo Racing Club in 9th on 16 points. And then of course Azuri Esports, they're bringing up the rear on 10 points in 10th place. And of course, looking at the driver lineup for tonight as well. Obviously, for Shazoo Cedar Igniters, it is Volokongan and Dirk. Then for ET8, we have Lifeboat and Sergio. For Alien Motorsports, we have Aaron and Devil. For Evolution Racing Team, we have Kevin Zumberg and Arcdriver. And then, of course, for TF10, we have Tiago and Ticho. Legacy Racing with Leora and Callum. Azuri Esports with Daniel and Justin. All Elite Racing Team with Crowden and Juzgood. And Bravo Racing Club with Predestinado and S95 Dome. Now, you may have noticed no FRT lineup here tonight, and that is because unfortunately FRT have pulled out of the console championship due to not having enough drivers available to race, which is heartbreaking to see. And yeah, it's We will miss FRT in the championship this season, that is for sure. Of course, a massive shout out and thank you to our sponsors in the CTC Console Championship, of course, to Pivot Media, the marketing agency offering graphic and video designers to elevate your brand and business. And then, of course, to Virtual Setup Engineer, the brand new setup shop for all of your setup needs. They offer setups for all tracks, plus a custom chat box, so you can customize your setup to your driving style. Now, with all of that out the way, I know, guys, I know we gotta get out to the action on track. We are midway through Q1 right now. There's 10 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, and I just want to make sure that you guys are getting the audio coming through. You should be, but I'm not seeing it on my OBS, which is fantastic. There we go. Okay, so we got the audio coming through right now. So we'll jump on board with Alien Motorsports Aaron, who leads the way. He might actually be on a cool down lap. No, it looks like he's about to be going for a fast lap. Of course, the Inter's laps have been done. Justin does have the quickest time in the session, over 27.7, but for some reason it has popped him down in 15th place with no chance of going through, which I'm not sure if it's a glitch or if he got disqualified, but really Justin will definitely have some words for the game right there. But we're going to go on board with Aaron as he comes out of the final corner to start his flying lap here around the Jeddah circuit. As we go through turns 1, 2 and 3, and now entering turn number 4, where it's so easy to clip that inside curve, inside wall I should say, right there, by just turning a little bit too early. Now the fast section where you're brushing up against the wall and you're brushing against track limits as well. Aaron navigating sector 1 though absolutely fantastically, and he's nearly 3 attempts up on his sector 1 time. As we come through turn number 10, and we fly now towards the heart of the middle sector, where of course you're going to have DRS at this point now, as Dirk improves on the provisional pole lap of a 26.4. Aaron nearly 3 times up as we go through 22, 23, 24, and an invalidation there for Aaron. So unfortunately for Aaron, it's not going to be an improvement, but he is going to continue the lap, so we'll see what he would have done as we enter turn 27, third gear, the gear of choice there for Aaron, and we will come out the final corner to the line, DRS wide open, and it would have been a 27.7, so he would have mashed his teammate, but unfortunately he wouldn't have been anywhere near Dirk or Volokonga now, who's popped up in the P2 with a 26.6. Of course, ET8, after their fantastic double podium last time out in Japan, is going to be looking to carry on that momentum here tonight and do their best to close the gap down even more on Suzuka Igniters. But of course, right now in qualifying, the Suzuka partnership of Dirk and Volokongan topping the times with Lifeboat and Sergio yet to get a lap time on the board on a set of the soft compound tyres. Of course, these laps were done on the intermediates. Sergio yet to get a lap on the board though, so we'll see what he can do as we come through the middle sector now, tapping the wall on the exit and potentially giving himself a little bit of wing damage, which would hinder him in the final sector. As we got the DRS open on the run down into turn 22, throwing the car through, and now through 23 and 24. 25 with DRS wide open now in towards 26 as we head down to the final braking zone at turn 27. Big lock up there for Sergio, never graze off the wall on the exit, but to the line will come the ET8 man, and he goes up in the P5. A lifeboat though, his teammate improves massively, goes up into P1 at 26.3, so very good lap there from a lifeboat. As we've got Ticho there just getting a little bit wide on the exit, and unfortunately I think that will be Ticho potentially saying no to this lap. So I think he may have backed off, may back off now because he went off there, but who knows. Ticho though, middle sector, he was 2 seconds up, over 2 seconds up in sector 1. Let's see what it is in sector 2 and see how much time he's gained in sector 2. Is 4 seconds up right now for Ticho, which is good enough to put him on a 28.2 right now, but he's going to find more time in the final sector. But how much more can he find? Of course, we've had Kevin Zumberg and Schumacher come through with a 26.6 and a 27 flat, respectively. And now we've got Ticho to the line, and he goes up into P3 with a 26.5. So he found a lot of time in that final sector, did Ticho. Predestinato on a flying lap as well, coming through the middle sector split in just a moment's time. A 1 minute flat there for Predestinato in the middle sector. He's going to be hoping to make sure he can get himself through into Q2, as we got around about 3.5 minutes remaining in the session. Predestinato actually bailed out into the pit lane. He wasn't happy with that lap. Of course, with 3.5 minutes left in the session, he does have time to come in and go back out again. Volkongan is happy with his lap. He's over and done with. Same with Lifeboat, same with Dirk, same with Kevin Zumberg. And I believe Ticho may also be happy with his lap time as well. This is going to be interesting. We've got a lot of drivers yet to get a lap time on the board. Crowding, Predestinato, Daniel, Just Golded. Is it Just Golded? I think it's Just Golded. Just Golded. There we go. Just Golded. And S95 Dome out there yet to get lap times on the board. Obviously, Justin does have a 27.7, but for some reason it's put him down in 15th place. So we're not sure what's happened there with Justin. Hopefully we can get some clarification on that in the Discord at some point, and we'll be able to see what goes on. But Thiago Schumacher still in the pits, same with Just Golded, and I assume they'll be coming out of the pits in just a moment's time, as we've got S95 Dome getting his lap underway for Bravo Racing Club. Remember, the top 15 go through into Q2, and then we'll have the top 10 go into the top 10 shootout in Q3. For right now, though, in the drop zone, we have Daniel, Just Golded, and Dome. Right now, in the bottom 3. No lap times from them, but they'll be hoping they can get a lap time on the board, that is for sure. I've had a lap time from any of them will put Justin into the drop zone, even though his time right now would put him just ahead of Alien Motorsports Devil in P10. So we'll have to find out what happened to Justin, because I've not seen that situation happen before. But here comes S95 Dome now to the line. What's it going to be? It's a 27.5 for for Dome. And it's actually kept Justin in P15 there. So that's interesting. Interesting there that's happened with Justin. Maybe he will be okay in terms of lap time, but as long as the drivers behind him don't go quicker than him. Crowding on a lap as well, as he is coming up to the final corner at turn 27. And we'll see what Crowding can do. He's currently down in 14th place. No lap time on the board. This will be the first lap of the evening for Crowding as he crosses the line at 27.3 for Crowding. Predestinato is on his flying lap. Of course, under pressure is just goaded Daniel and Predestinato right now. Tiago as well under big pressure in the first sector. Of course, the checker flag now fallen here in Q1. You're not going to be able to improve. Checker flag out. Devil's not improving. Obviously, Crowding just finished his lap. Callum has just finished his lap. Dome invalidates on his lap. We got Aaron now coming down towards the final corner. And then we'll have, I believe, Predestinato coming through next. But here comes Aaron to the line. And it's going to be a 27.6 for Aaron. What about Predestinato? What can he do as he comes through now? So 27.1 for Aaron. What about Daniel? Daniel to the line. 27.5 for him. And then, of course, we have just goaded. And he can't get a big lap going. As Tiago goes up into P7. So there we go, guys. The three knocked out here in Q1 is Alien Motorsports, Aaron, Justin, and just goaded there. Getting themselves knocked out in Q1 here at the Jeddah Koenig circuit. Daniel just about getting through there in P15. I'm curious of what happened to Justin. I'm assuming that he unfortunately just crashed into one of the walls here at Jeddah, but we will see. So, knocked out in Q1 is, of course, Aaron, Justin, and just goaded. Getting through into Q2 is Daniel, 95 Dome, Callum, Crowding, Devil, Leora, Predestinato, Schumacher, Tiago, Sergio, Kevin Zumberg, Volokongan, Ticho, Dirk, and Lifebout topping the times with a 26.3. Well, as we come into Q2 now, 15 minutes on the clock. And we're going to see who is going to come out on top here and get themselves through into Q3. Of course, the next 5 drivers will be eliminated from qualifying at the end of the 15 minutes. And the first car out on track is, of course, Kevin Zumberg there for Evolution Racing Team. Of course, we lost Justin for Azuri Esports, just goaded for All Elite Racing Team, and of course Aaron from Alien Motorsports in Q1. But can the teammates in Devil, Daniel, and of course Crowden get themselves into Q3? That'll be the question. But the first man who's going to set a lap will be Kevin Zumberg for Evolution Racing Team. We come around the final corner. Kevin Zumberg will get his lap underway, and we'll give him the full screen. We'll give him. Kevin navigating his way through sector 1 nicely thus far. Of course, the exit of that particular corner can really throw you off, but a 31.9 in the first sector as we sweep through into what will be the heart of the middle sector now. Very easy to clip the wall on the inside and on the exit as we come on to the second of the DRS straights, heading down in towards turn 22. What's it's going to be for Kevin? It's going to be a 1 minute flat as we go through 23 and 24 now, flying down towards the final braking zone at turn 27. Kevin Zumberg, what will this lap time be? What will be the benchmark here in Q2 as Kevin now to the line, DRS wide open, using all his battery possible, and he does a 26.8, does Kevin Zumberg. And that is matched immediately with Volakongan in behind. And then we got Callum there with a 28.2. Crowden unfortunately invalidated on his run. Leoira goes up in the P3 with a 28 flat. Definitely going to need more if he wants to see himself go through into Q3. Schumacher 27.9, and then Sergio Lee getting himself through to P2 with a 26.8. Tiago to the line now for TF10. And what's this going to be for Tiago? It's a 27.1 for him. His teammate does a 27.8 in behind Ticho. And then wondering if they're using some used soft tyres here at the start of Q2. Guidasnato, 27.4 for him. Devil into the pits, he's not happy, invalidated his lap. And now we got Dome coming through, who's also invalidated on his lap as well. 9 lap times on the board. Kevin Zumberg topping the times at the moment by 13 thousandths of a second ahead of ET8's Sergio in P2 with Volakongan in P3 for Shazoo Cedar Igniters. Tiago, TF10's lead driver at the moment in P4 with Predestinato for Bravo Racing Club in P5. Then we got Ticho for TF10 in P6. Schumacher for Evolution Racing Team in P7. And then of course we got the pairing of Leroy in P9 and Callum, Leroy P8 and Callum in P9 for Legacy Racing. Yet to get a lap time on the board, Crowden, who is on a lap. So I believe we might have run out of fuel actually on this lap. Yeah, he's run out of fuel. Crowden making sure he got himself a Delta though, which is important. We got Dirk yet to get a lap time on the board. Same with Lifebound, who is coming out of the pit lane right now. Daniel on his out lap. He's currently in P13 for Zuri Esports. Saw his teammate get knocked out in Q1. Same with Devil for Alien Motorsports. And of course we got Dome for Bravo Racing Club, yet to get a lap time on the board also. As Dirk now for Suzuki Igniters gets his lap underway, 8 minutes to go in qualifying. 6 drivers yet to get a lap time on the board, with Schumacher, Ticho, Lioira and Callum definitely needing to find improved lap times to get themselves through into Q3. Dirk through the first sector, absolutely nailing the first sector and making sure that he does not clip any of the walls. And now a little bit of traffic up ahead, but the Evolution Racing team driver gets out of the way nice and quickly for Dirk, so that's good going from him. DRS wide open now as we head down towards the middle sector split and turn 22. 59.6, and there's an invalidation there for Dirk. Unfortunately, this was going to be a huge lap time from the Suzuki Igniters, man, but that just going through turn 22 just carried a little bit too much speed, went a little bit deep, and he picks up the invalidation. But I think he will potentially just get this delta on the board, and yes, he will. He'll get the delta on the board, and it would have been a 26.3, so half a second ahead of Kevin Zumberg if the lap time was valid, which unfortunately for Dirk it was not. As we got Lifeboat on a flying lap right now, and of course he's in the middle sector coming through now as we head down towards the break-in for turn 22 with DRS wide open. Lifeboat for ET8. So 1 minute flat in the middle sector. This should put him thereabouts with his teammate and Kevin Zumberg up towards the front. But what lap time that would have been from Dirk if he was able to get the lap time on the board, but unfortunately for him he's gonna have to go again. But here comes Lifeboat now for ET8 to the line. He'll come, and it's going to be a 26.5, puts him top of the times right now in Q2. As Volakongan finds even more time for Suzuki Igniters, and he gets himself up into P1 with a 26.3. Is that going to be enough to get him through into Q3? I think it might just be. As Kevin Zumberg, they're improving by 2.5 tenths, and he gets himself on the 26.5. We got Sergio, who is over 2 tenths up in the middle sector, and let's see what he can do. The ET8 man into the final corner, turn 27, third gear on the exit, grazing the wall on the exit as well does Sergio, and now to the line he'll come, and it's going to be a 26.1 for the ET8 man. As Ticho also improves on his lap time, he's up at the P3. So big lap there from Ticho. We've got his teammate Tiago now coming through to finish his lap, and he goes up into P4 with a 26.4. I am not gonna lie, a very competitive top 6 right now. Sergio top in the times with 26.1, ahead of Volakonga in the second with a 26.3. Just ahead of Ticho, who joins him with a 26.3. 26.4 for Tiago, the TF10 driver in P4. Lifeboat there with a 26.5 for 88 in P5. Then P6, 26.5 for Kevin Zumberg with, of course, Evolution Racing Team. And then his teammate on a 26.7 in P7 for Schumacher. Then we got a 6.5 gap back to Predestinado in P8. And then there's another 6/10 gap back to Leora in P9 and Callum 2/10 off his teammate in P10. 5 times yet to be put on the board, and that comes from All Elite Racing Teams, Crowden in 11th, Suzuki Igniters, Dirk in 12th, Daniel, who is on an outlap right now for Azuri Esports, Devil, who is also on an outlap for Alien Motorsports, and then of course for Dome, who is representing Bravo Racing Club here tonight. I am not sure what I think the cutoff is going to be in terms of lap time here. I want to say the top 6 might just about be safe with their 26.5s. They might just about be safe, but it's going to be interesting because I do expect Dirk to get himself into the 26s. Same with Crowden as well. And I'm expecting the improved lap times to come from Predestinado and Schumacher as well. And that would be four improvements in total that I think could break the 26s. Devil as well could get there also. But we're going to see, of course, the top 4 have decided that their lap times are enough. Kevin Zumberg decided his lap time is enough as well. Lifeboat still in the pit lane, so he's making sure he's not going to get caught out. He might retire in the pit lane in just a moment's time though. Schumacher retires, so he's not going to improve on his lap time. So he wants to hope that the 26.7 is going to be enough to get himself into Q3, the top 10 shootout. But what can Crowden, Dirk, Daniel, Devil and Dome do? Yet to have lap times on the board here in Q2, and that is not going to help Devil by hitting the wall on the exit. It's going to lose a bit of momentum as we run down in towards turn 22, the break-in. Throwing the car through a 1:02 middle sector there for Devil, which of course can definitely get him into the 26s. Is it going to be enough to get himself ahead of Schumacher though? Well, to the line will come the Alien Motorsports driver, and it's going to be a 27.1 for him. He gets himself ahead of Predestinado, who's just started his lap time, but it's a lap time on the board that matters. Daniel doesn't look like he set himself a quick lap. Looks like he went for a slow lap, and he's going for a quick lap. Dome, a 26.9 for him. Gets himself up into P8, knocks Leora out of the top 10. Leora is, of course, making sure that he has everything he needs, and I think Leora and Callum might have done themselves in by here because they are not pushing. Daniel 4 seconds up, purple middle sector for him. Checker flag is out in the session. As we look to see if we're going to get any more improvements here. Daniel to the line is going to be into the 26s. No, it's a 27.4 for him. Predestinado in the final corner now. Big lap time needed from him to get himself into Q3. Because you know that Dirk is going quick in behind. And he gets himself up into P9 just behind his teammate plus Devil on the bubble. Dirk and Crowden now to the line. Crowden's invalidated. There's going to be no improvement for Crowden. But here comes Dirk. Dirk to the line. And it's going to be P2 for Dirk, and that of course is going to knock Devil out of qualifying, out of Q3. Daniel unfortunately not able to get himself in either. Crowding, what could have been if he got a lap time on the board, we'll never know. But Bravo Racing Clubs, both of their drivers do scrape into Q3. Just about in the end. So our top 10 shootout is a shootout between Shazoo Cedar Igniters, ET8 Esports, Evolution Racing Team, TF10 Esports, and of course Bravo Racing Club. So those 5 teams, both of their drivers represented inside the top 10 shootout. So it's going to be very interesting to see who will come out on top there. I think it's going to be an absolute shootout between the likes of Sergio, Volakongan, Dirk, Lifeboat, and of course Ticho as well for TF10. And Kevin Zumberg can maybe get himself into the mix also. So let's not rule out Kevin Zumberg of Evolution Racing Team, but let's run you through the top 10 here. Going into Q3 is Sergio, Dirk, Volakongan, Ticho, Tiago, Lifeboat, Kevin Zumberg, Schumacher, Dome, and Predestinato. And unfortunately knocked out here in Q2 is Devil. It will start from P11, Daniel in 12th, Leoira 13th, Callum 14th, and then of course we'll have Crowden coming through and starting in 15th place. As we get ready now for the top 10 shootout, who will be the drivers on the top step here in qualifying. .12 minutes here in qualifying 3 as we got our first driver out on the track right now, and that is Dirk for Shazoo Cedar Igniters. Of course, this will do wonders in the top 10 shootout for those that did save their soft tyres in Q1 and Q2. Apologies for that, guys. But yeah, let's get the Delta and telemetries up on the screen for you guys. As top 10 shootout, quickest lap time we've seen so far today is a 26.1. Will we see anyone break into the 25s here in Q3? I think there's potential there, but whether we'll see it or not, time will tell. 10 minutes to go in Q3. Dirk and Schumacher, the only 2 drivers on an outlap, as we see Volakongan exiting the pit lane as well. So let's give Dirk the full screen as he's going to take us on a flying lap here of the Jeddah Street Circuit as we come through the final corner to get the lap underway. A good exit out the final corner. DRS wide open there for Dirk as we head down into towards turn number 1. Now through turn number 2 and on the exit now, making sure you're using every little bit of track you can through turn 3. In towards turn number 4 now, as you try to make sure you don't invalidate going through turn 5. Now through turn 6, all about momentum here as we go through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. First sector split for Dirk. 31.8 as we go through turn number 13. Throwing the car through as we go in towards turn 14, now 15, into 16 and 17 now. Not clipping the wall on the exit. That is good for Dirk as we go through 18, 19, 20 and of course 21 as we come to the break in for 22. And that is just a little bit too quick there for Dirk. And that is unfortunately the invalidation there for him as we go through 25 and 26. We head to the break in now for 27. But what would this lap time would have been for Dirk, as he will definitely try to get the lap time, the delta on the board. Dirk to the line, and would have been a 26.4, a good delta to get us underway here in qualifying. Unfortunately, not the valid lap time that Dirk would have wanted, as we got Schumacher, who's looking very quick in the middle sector. And Schumacher does a 26.5 in the end. So the mid 26s to get underway. Dirk getting out of the way of Kevin Zumberg, who is on his flying lap. We've got Wallach Hongan coming towards the end of his flying lap as he does a 59 point, I believe that was a 0.6 in the middle sector there. But what is this going to be for Wallach Hongan here? 26.5 to beat. Will Wallach Hongan be topping the times provisionally here? Yes, he does with a 26.1. Wallach Hongan setting the fastest lap time so far of Q3. And putting his name topping the timings here where it matters. Of course, the point for pole position is awarded here. So this will be big for Shazoo in terms of confidence, but it's immediately taken by Kevin Zumberg. A 26.103 for him. Sergio pops himself up into P3. Another 26.1 right there for him. As we got Dome coming through the final corner now. And next will be his teammate Predestinato, but Dome to the line. $27.4 for Dome, and here comes Predestinato now. 27.8 for him, as we'll have the pairing, the TF10 pairing, Tiago and Ticho. Tiago first to the line. Another 26.1 for him. What about Ticho? Oh my god, a 26 flat. Ladies and gentlemen, the top 5 are separated by less than a tenth of a second. Ticho, Kevin Zumberg, Wallach Hongan, Tiago and Sergio. Less than a tenth of a second separating them. And we know that Dirk and Lifeboat are capable of being in and around those lap times as well. So, place your bets on who you think is getting pole position here. Because right now, TF10 with Ticho has set the quickest lap time we've seen so far in qualifying with a 26 flat. But he is 9 thousandths of a second ahead of Kevin Zumberg in second place. And we are talking 85 thousandths of a second from Ticho in first to Sergio in fifth. 85 thousandths of a second, ladies and gentlemen. That is how close it is between the top 5 right now. And when you add Dirk and Lifeboat, who we know can set those kind of times as well, into the mix, this is going to shape up to be a massive and a huge top 10 shootout for pole position, because these drivers are so incredibly close on pace right now in qualifying. Like I said, place your bets on who you think is getting pole position. Right now it is TF10's Ticho who tops the times, but will he be topping them at the end of the session? 3.5 minutes remaining here in Q3. As we wait for the madness to begin, as all the drivers will be coming out on the track within the next minute, I would say, making sure they're going to be trying to get themselves a little bit of free air. Obviously, they want to get the best of conditions. They want to be the last one to cross the line, but they also don't want to be caught up in any form of traffic or any form of dirty air on the flying lap here, because that could cost them massively. And the first man coming out of the pit lane is one of the Shazoo drivers. And it's the Shazoo driver of Volakongan exiting the pit lane. And there goes Dirk. Big pressure on Shazoo CD Igniters, Dirk and ET8's Lifeboat. Both yet to get a lap time on the board. They need the lap time. That is for certain, as we've got less than 2 minutes remaining in the session. Is Lifeboat coming out of the pit lane? Lifeboat is, Lifeboat is, he's not coming out of the pits. Lifeboat has elected to not come out of the pit lane, so he will be starting from P10. He does not have enough time to get himself around, unfortunately. So, Lifeboat will be starting from P10 in this race. But who will be getting pole position? That is the question. We got 5 drivers separated by 85 hundredths of 85 thousandths of a second. And then we got Dirk, who we know can match their times as well. He's not set a lap time yet. Volakongan's going to be the first man to set a lap time, so we're still on board with him, as he has both of the Evolution Racing Team's drivers in behind. But Volakongan is going to set his final lap time here in Q3. And what will this be for the Shazoo man? Will we see anyone getting into the 1 minute 25 shirt? Volakongan through the first sector, hooking up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 nicely within the track limits. As we come to the first sector split, so over half a tenth up in sector 1. Volakongan coming through 16, 17 and 18, now onto the DR straight through 19, 20 and towards 21 as we come to the break-in for 22. Marginally up in sector 2, but throws it through 22, 23 and 24 as we head down now towards the final braking zone at turn 27. Volakongan is up on his time but he's not up enough to take pole position away from Ticho right now. But has he found anything in the final sector? Suzuki Igniters. Will it be provisional pole for Volakongan? Yes, it will. Volakongan goes on the provisional pole as we have Schumacher now coming to the line. He does a 26.2 there, does Schumacher, but his teammate Kevin Zumberg, what can he do? It's not enough for Kevin, unfortunately. Ticho, though, improving on his lap time for TF10. He does not get it in the end. What about Thiago in behind? He can't find the time. What about Sergio for ET8? As he comes to the line, it's a 25.9 from Sergio. ET8 does top it in the end. Into the 25s we go. Sergio, what a lap time right at the end of the session. Dirk unfortunately comes into the pit lane and retires from the session. Unfortunately for him, you'll be starting from P9 with Lifeboat in P10. But what an end to that qualifying session we had there. Look at that gap. We're talking just over 2.5 tenths from first down to sixth. But let's run you through it. It's Sergio for ET8 who takes pole position ahead of Volakongan, who will join him on the front row. Ticho in P3 with Kevin Zumberg in P4. Thiago in P5. Schumacher in P6. Predestinato will be joined by his teammate Dome on the fourth row of the grid in 7th and 8th. And then of course we got Dirk and Lifeboat in 9th and 10th on the 5th row. Unfortunately was not able to get the lap times that they needed in Q3, unfortunately for them. Wow. What a Q3, what a top 10 shootout we had there. And it did just about see us break into the 1 minute 25s as it was. But incredible stuff. Again, a quick reminder of the point system here in the console championship. 22 points for the race win, 18 points for second, 15 points for third, 12 points for fourth, 11 points for fifth, and it goes down in increments of 1 to 15th place. There is a point for the fastest lap. There's a point for the pole position, which of course has been picked up now by ET8. So the gap in the championship has come down to 4 as we'll get ready to go to the 5 red lights in just a moment's time. And I'll switch this back over to the main screen so we do not miss the 5 red lights at the start. It is definitely going to be an interesting it's going to be an interesting turn 1, guys. Let's put it that way, because turn 1, as we know, is going to be it's going to be absolute. It's just going to be fantastic, guys. It's going to be fantastic. Drivers making sure they got their setups, their strategies all nailed down. Of course, strategy can be turned on its head at any point with a safety car being deployed, or even a virtual safety car being deployed. Strategies can change on the fly. Lifeboat has unfortunately left the session. Hopefully he can get himself back in as soon as possible. Maybe his teammate Sergio can make sure he gets himself an invite back into the lobby as soon as possible. Sergio picking up that point 4. ET8 Esports bringing the gap down now to 4 points as we go to the 5 red lights here in Jeddah. Lights out and we are underway as Crowden has retired from the session. I think Yeah, Daniel's left the session. I think possibly we might have a lobby restart here. And yes, I think we will. So I think we will have a lobby restart as we're seeing drivers retiring from the session and leaving the session immediately. So it looks like we will be having a lobby restart here in the console championship. What we will do in the meantime, and while we are getting the lobby sorted back out, is we will go ahead and we'll jump over to the intermission screen, and we'll be back in just a moment, guys. Welcome back, guys. Of course, we are getting the new lobby all sorted, and we will be getting underway very shortly. A quick reminder of the track we are racing at here tonight at the Jeddah Coney circuit. It is, of course, 6.1 kilometers, 3.8 miles, 27 corners, 3 DRS zones, 1 down the start finish straight, 1 down in towards turn 22, and 1 down in towards turn 27. Of course, the tight nature of Sector 1, obviously fast flowing as well, will provide a lot of high octane action going through there, where moves are going to be very few and far between in Sector 1. But of course, once you open up the taps through Sector 2 and Sector 3, that's when we're going to start to see the overtaking happen. Of course, turn 13 being a nice overtaking spot if you can get the run out of turns 10 and 11. Of course, turn 22 with DRS will be another key overtaking area, and of course the final corner at 27 will be another key overtaking area. Turn number 1 will also be a corner to keep our eyes on, and maybe if we get a good launch out of turn 2, we may see overtakes happen in towards turn number 4. However, given the nature of turn 4, I do not recommend going side by side through there. It is very, very tight, and most of the time, if not 95% of the time, you go side by side through turn 4, someone is either taking a track limit warning, or they are taking a bit of their front wing off, or potentially spinning. That is just my experience going through turn 4 side by side with people. So hopefully, if there is side by side action, they'll be able to avoid all of that. Of course, a look at the championship standings as well. Coming in tonight, it was Shazoo Cedar Igniters leading the way by 5 points. That, of course, has been cut down to 4 now, with Sergio's pole position point added to the tally. So the gap is now 4 points. So ET8 will be on 74 points at this moment in time. TF10 in P3 on 56 points. 46 points for Evolution Racing Team. FRT Future Racing Team in 5th place on 44 points, but unfortunately for them, they have pulled out of the championship altogether due to a lack of drivers. Legacy Racing in P6 on 24 points, and of course we've got All Elite Racing Team in 7th on 19 points, just ahead of Alien Motorsports in 8th on 18 points. 16 points for Bravo Racing Club in 9th, and of course Azuri Esports there rounding out the top 10 on 10 points. Of course, it is very interesting to see what will transpire over the course of the rest of the season. Of course, the quick reminder of the classifications from last time out in Suzuka. It was Ortiz for TF10 that took the victory ahead of the pairing of Lifeboat and Silo for ET8, getting a double podium for ET8. Venom for Shazoo Cedar Igniters came through in P4, Reticho P5, and then of course we had Dan for FRT in P6, Schumacher in P7 for Evolution Racing Team, Reese for All Elite Racing Team in P8, with Typical for LR in 9th, and then of course we had Caden for FRT round out the top 10. Of course, the drivers' standards, Oscar leads the way with a win, and of course 2 top 3 finishes for him. He's on 42 points, 4 points ahead of Silo in 2nd place, with Ortiz in 3rd, Oslu in 4th, with Kevin Zumberg in 5th, Ward in 6th, and then of course Volakonga in the 7th, Lifeboat in 8th, Predestinato in 9th, and of course Caden round out the top 10. Of course, out of the drivers, inside the top 10 in the drivers' standings, the only ones that are here tonight is, of course, Volakongan, Lifeboat, Predestinato, and Kevin Zumberg. So it'll be interesting to see what those 4 drivers do in terms of the standings as a whole. Of course, the drivers are now making sure they got their setups and everything sorted. Of course, we do want to make sure that everyone does have a little bit of a chance to load their setups and just make sure that they are as ready as they can be for the start of the race. And of course, what we'll be looking at as well, once again, is the driver lineup for tonight. Of course, Wollongong and Dirk for Shazoo, Cedar Igniters, Lifeboat and Sergio for ET8 Esports, Alien Motorsports represented by Aaron and Daryl, Evolution Racing Team represented by Kevin Zumberg and Schumacher. Then, of course, we got TF10 with Tiago and Ticho, Legacy Racing with Leora and Callum, Daniel and Justin for Azuri Esports, as Daniel unfortunately has disconnected again from the session, so hopefully this is not going to be another restart and we can get him back in before everyone goes racing. Crowded and just goaded there for All Elite Racing Team, and of course Bravo Racing Club there with Predestinato and S95 Dome. And Daniel has rejoined the session, which is fantastic. Hopefully he loaded his setup, but he might be stuck with the default setup now. As he has left the session again as Daniel. So unfortunately we are having issues right now, which is not ideal, but we will persevere and we will do our best to get through as quickly as we can. As we are heading to the action on track right now, to the 5 red lights, I guess, underway here for round 4, and lights are out and we are underway, and it's a good start there from Sergio, holding on to the race lead, heading down through turns 1 and 2, and as Predestinato, who is already out of the race, front wing going off in the midfield there, as Lifeboat, Crowden and Devil getting tangled up with each other, and that is the the Red Bull of Callum. They're losing the car and going around for Legacy Racing. Not ideal for him. Lifeboat has had a start which it's been quite dramatic, but he seems to have gone through without wing damage, which is good for him, and he still holds on to P10. Devil also out of the race as well for Alien Motorsport, and that's brought out the yellow flags for the virtual safety car here tonight. Lap number 1 sees the retirement of both Predestinato and Devil for Alien Motorsport and Bravo Racing Club respectfully. A good start there for Dirk. He's got himself up into P6 ahead of Dome and Schumacher, so a good start there for him. But Sergio, a great start from him. He holds on to the race lead. As we look at the tyre selections of all the drivers out there on track, and it is of course the mediums all around. As the virtual safety car has ended, we are back to green flag racing, and it looks like Just Golded and Justin side by side on the exit, and it looks like Just Golded is going to be able to just hold on to P13 for the time being, or is he? Because Daniel unfortunately has disconnected once again. I think he may have a default setup there. Is Daniel, which is unfortunate. Oh, look at this. As we're on board with Schumacher, we're seeing Dirk and Tiago side by side through the first sector. Oh, and that is Tiago in the wall. A little bit of contact between Dirk and Tiago. Tiago in the wall. Front wing off. Dirk does go off track as well, and loses out to Schumacher and Dome here, but side by side in sector 1. We mentioned it before the race, how it is very difficult to go side by side in sector 1, and that has just proved it right there. But Leora trying to put the pressure on Dirk, but he's not going to be close enough to put the pressure on the Shazoo Cedar Igniters man. The top 3, we got one driver from ET8, one driver from Shazoo, and one driver from TF10. As DRS is of course activated, Wollongong has used a lot of batteries, same as Sergio though, and Ticho right now is sitting pretty on his battery. in comparison to the top two. Kevin Zumberg as well doing decent on his battery. And then we got a 2.5 second gap back to Schumacher, who's going to be under pressure from Dome and Dirk and Lifeboat now in this fight, as Crowden and Thiago now into the pit lane. What could have been for Thiago without the contact with Dirk. Oh! Lifeboat's out. He's turned in too early into turn 4. Lifeboat out of this race. 88 down a driver. Just too early into turn 4 for the ET8 man. Heartbreak there for Lifeboat, as he unfortunately does not see the end of lap 3 before crashing out. Same with Predestinato and Devil. 3 laps, 3 retirees. 25 laps in total to go racing at here in Jeddah. Sergio using his battery to try and get away from Volokongan, but the DRS now being active, it's going to be very difficult to pull away. The top 4 are in their own race right now. Ticho and Kevin definitely doing the best in terms of the ERS management right now. And Dirk gonna have to put the move on Dome here. Up in the P6 goes Dirk, and with Lifeboat out of the race, big opportunity for Shazoo to extend the gap at the top. As Dirk gets through turn 4 without clipping the wall on the inside there. Schumacher, he's doing a good job. He is closing in on the top 4, and he is breaking that 1 second to Dirk in behind. In terms of the battery, I mean, Dirk has around about 10% or 15% extra battery to his disposal, so we'll see how that is going to transpire. Dome needs to make sure he stays with Dirk here, because Dirk can drag him back up to Schumacher as long as he stays within the DRS window. As Leora is also getting dragged along as well. Ticho closing in on the back of Volokongan here for P2, but not going to go for any moves at this stage. The battery is there though for Volokongan to use, and he is using it, as he may end up looking towards trying to put Volokongan under pressure, put him offline on the entry and forcing a slower exit, and that is what's just happened there. But unfortunately for Ticho, not enough to get through. The top 4 all doing a fantastic job in terms of their battery. So we got Sergio on over 80%. We got Volokongan, who's just maxed out his battery usage. Ticho also on 100. Same with Kevin as well, as they went through turn 13. Top 4's battery usage is very, very good, as we have Dome, who unfortunately has lost out on DRS, and that is going to put him under pressure now from Leora in behind and drop him away from Dirk. But he has just managed to get himself back within DRS just momentarily, but he has no ERS to play with. And there goes Leora. Up into P7 goes the LR man. And Bravo Racing Club's lone driver at the moment is losing out, as Dirk does get through on Schumacher. As Sergio and Volokongan side by side on the exit at turn 2. Volokongan does take the race lead for the first time here on lap 6 of 25. As we got Ticho for TF10 just sitting in behind, waiting for the opportunity to pounce. Takes a tighter line through 13, and that almost put Sergio under a bit of pressure there, as Ticho almost managed to get the line to draw slightly alongside the ET8 man. Kevin Zumberg is chilling in this train right now. He hasn't really got to push his ERS. He hasn't got to push at all at this stage. Let the guys in front battle and then pick up the pieces. That is Kevin Zumberg's strategy for this particular race. But Dirk has absolutely... he's closed up massively, Dirk has. He's used a lot of battery to get himself back within this fight inside the top 5. And he's now within DRS. He's dropped Schumacher. As there goes Sergio back through on Volakonga. Back into the race lead goes Sergio. And he's back on that top step of the podium for the time being. Lap 7 of 25. Sergio leads the way. Volakonga in second. With Ticho there in P3. Kevin Zumberg in P4 with Dirk in P5. After using a lot of battery to get himself back within 1 second of these guys up ahead. Schumacher 1.3 off the back. He has Lioira for company for the fight for P6. Dome just about holding on in P8 right now to the DRS of Lioira. And then we got a big gap back to just Golded in 9th. Justin in 10th with Aaron 3 seconds off the back of Justin in 11th place. Then Daniel, who of course disconnected from the session, so that's his AI going around right now, in 12th place, 17 seconds off the back of Aaron. And then we got Crowden, Thiago and Callum, who have all had incidents at the start of this race, which has seen them having to jump onto a set of the hard compound tyres early, and it's going to be very difficult for these three now to get themselves into a very good spot in this race, as it's just going to be a long race for those three unless a safety car was to happen to bring them back into it. But we hope we don't see safety cars, but those guys will be hoping for a safety car. As Golded and Justin battling out for P9 and 10. And look at that now, Justin down the inside into turn 1. But Golded gets the line, gets the car stopped on the apex as well, stopping the switchback. Golded pulling out all the stops to try and hold on to P9 in this race. This is All Elite Racing Team versus Azuri Esports here for P9 and P10. But back up towards the top 5. Schumacher's almost within that 1 second window. And now Dirk has saved up his battery as well. So now Dirk has the ability of trying to carve his way through these guys. Schumacher, unfortunately for him, he has just missed out on the DRS down in towards turn 23. And again, he misses out on the run down in towards turn 27. This is going to be the issue for Schumacher. When you use your battery and you don't get within DRS range, you're then left wondering what could have been. As Dirk is into the pit lane, so is Schumacher following him in. So Dirk looking for the undercut on these guys up ahead. Aaron, after making his pit stop, he's come out in last place. I see where Dirk's going to come out relative to the likes of Thiago. Of course, Thiago did have the front wing change as well. He's on the back of Crowden. And I think, yeah, Dirk's going to be well ahead. So will Schumacher, so will Dome. What about Golded? Golded is just going to come out ahead of his teammate. So yeah, of course the incident and the front wing damage being repaired, not ideal for these guys. in crowding Thiago and Callum. They got a lot of work to do to get themselves some good meaningful points here tonight. Dirk making the pit stop though, going for the undercut, is definitely going to be a call for the guys up ahead to respond in this particular juncture. As you would imagine, all of them will fly into the pits at the end of this lap to cover off Dirk here. And there we go, Sergio, Volokongan, Ticho and Kevin all into the pit lane. They had to. They got to cover off Dirk. Leroy in as well as Justin will come through. So we're going to stay on board with Dirk now, who should potentially take the race lead here. And I think he will just about do so as we come down the start-finish straight. Shazoo's Dirk is now into the race lead. Just about as Schumacher there gets himself ahead of Volokongan side by side on the exit as we head down in towards turn number 4. And yet Schumacher backs out and does not want to go side by side through turn 4. So Volokongan does get himself up into P4. This is not good for Ticho, because Ticho will want to get himself ahead of Schumacher and out of this Evolution Racing Team sandwich of which he's found himself in. As Callum and Crowden switching positions further down the field, as Callum up in the P12, Crowden down to P13, Thiago is now in P11. But they're on worn hard compound tyres versus the rest of the field on fresh hards, apart from Justin, who is yet to make a pit stop. And I believe he'll be coming in at the end of this lap. But he's got Dirk about to go for the overtake on him. No, Dirk's going to sit in behind. That could invite a little bit of pressure here, because of course Justin will not have the traction out of the corner, and that's going to allow, here goes Sergio now down in towards turn number 1, and Volokongan's going to try to go through as well. Volokongan down the inside, no, Sergio holds on to the race lead, but Shazoo now in P2 and P3 and able now to work together to try and get themselves the best result possible. Of course, Lifeboat out of this race early on, clipping the inside wall at turn 4, leaving ET8 down the driver. Of course, Ticho hasn't got his teammate around him thanks to the incident that happened early on with side-by-side action, a little bit of contact between Dirk and Thiago racing, in my opinion, that incident. Obviously, we'll see if what they all think about it later on in the week, that is for sure. But yeah, Thiago unfortunately down the field with the incident that happened with Dirk. So Ticho does not have his teammate. And then you got Schumacher and Kevin Zumberg for Evolution Racing Team, who are able to work together, but they are split right now by Ticho and towards the back end of this train. As Leora gets through on Dome, up in the P7 goes Leora. Of course, this is the battle for P7, and this is a bit of a no man's land battle. And look at this, Ticho tries it down the inside of Schumacher. We just cut it back on board with that, and oh, he's on the exit curb. And Kevin Zumberg, a little bit of contact side by side on the exit. Schumacher really hung Ticho out to dry there to try and give his teammate the opportunity to get through, but it was not meant to be. Ticho will not be happy with that as Callum's out of the race. Callum out of the race, yellow flags are out, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a safety car or a virtual safety car. So Thiago, Crowden, there's not a hope for them getting back into this race at the moment. Of course, this is Jeddah. Anything can happen. Lap 12 of 25. We have 13 drivers still in the race. Of course, Daniel is currently going around as the AI. So, unfortunately, Daniel not in the car. As Ticho and Kevin Zumberg side by side on the exit of the final corner. Looks like Kevin might have the jump on Ticho there. As we run down in towards turn number 1. Kevin will have the inside line. But Ticho will have the superior line through turn 2, and that is the position back the way of the TF10 man. As Ticho holding on to P5, knows the danger that he's in right now in the Evolution Racing Team sandwich. He'll definitely need to try and break himself out of that, out of this in some point. He is trying his best to get out of the sandwich by putting the pressure on Schumacher now, and Schumacher maybe looking a little bit too much behind, as he definitely would have picked up an invalidation right there. Would have been Schumacher, but he is losing time now to the top 3. Possibly focusing too much on what's going on behind him rather than keeping up with what's going on in front of him. Over half race distance now. Sergio for ET8 leads the way. Volokongan and Dirk, the Shazoo pairing in second and third. A double podium right now for Shazoo. Schumacher in 4th place with Ticho for TF10 in P5. And Kevin Zumberg just off the back in P6. But Evolution Racing Team having a good performance so far. P4 and P6 respectfully. Leroy for Legacy Racing in P7. And he is just ahead of Dome in P8. Of course, Bravo Racing Club driver. And then we got just Goaded there in 9th place in a bit of no man's land for All Elite Racing Team. And then of course we got Justin for Azuri Esports in P10. Crowden in 11th. Of course Aaron in 12th, but Idiom Motorsport, his teammate, out of the race, unfortunately for him. Tiago on a fresh set of hards, now in 13th place. He's going to be looking to try and salvage something in this race, will Tiago, for TF10, but it's going to be a long road for him. He's got 10 seconds to make up to Aaron, and then after he catches Aaron and Crowden, he's got another 10 seconds to make up to try and get into the top 10. Big order. And I just don't think it's going to work out without a safety car. Ticho closing right up on Schumacher as we enter the tricky sector of turn 7, 8, 9 and 10, and now a little bit of gap has been created there from Schumacher, but he's still under pressure from Ticho in behind. The top 6 all in the DRS train. No one looking to try and break that thus far. Leoira has broken away from Dome now, so the battle for P7 appears to be over for the time being, as they're both similar in terms of the ERS as well. Goaded, of course, in a bit no man's land ahead of Justin in 10th. Then we got, of course, Aaron in 11th. Thiago trying to hunt him down on the fresh hard common tyre. 7 seconds back on lap 16. So the only battle that we have on track right now is this battle inside the top 6. Sergio, Volokongan, Dirk, Schumacher, Ticho, Kevin Zumberg. As Dome picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. Not ideal for him. The first driver to pick up the 3-second time penalty of the race. And that is definitely going to cost him in terms of being able to battle Leora. Fortunately, he has a decent 9-second gap back to Godid in behind him. So he's got 6 seconds to play with in that regard. But yeah, he doesn't look like Dome will be climbing up any further than where he's at right now in P8. Of course, a safety car could change absolutely everything in this race. Because you would imagine if a safety car was to be deployed right now, there's potential we may see everyone jump in for a set of the medium compound tyres. If that's the case, then obviously Volokongan and Kevin will be hung out to dry in terms of the pit stop in the pit boxes. Ticho and Sergio will be perfectly fine, and it would definitely help the likes of Aaron, Thiago, Crowden in terms of getting themselves back into this race. Godid as well. Be looking to try and get himself back into the race. Maybe have a battle with Dome for P8. But the gap has now been created in the top 6. The split has happened. Schumacher now 1.4, 1.3 off the back of Dirk. The top 3 are getting away. And it is now or never in terms of Ticho, in terms of breaking this sandwich that he's found himself in of the Evolution Racing Team drivers. He has the opportunity now with DRS to get the move done on Schumacher, and he has to make sure that he closes back in enough on Dirk to make it stick. Let's see if he's going to be able to do it. Schumacher, oh, he's low on his ERS as Schumacher. Kevin is roughly the same as Ticho here. And here we go. Looks like Schumacher using his battery to try and hold on to the race lead. Sorry, not the race lead, the P4. My bad there. As he goes a little bit deeper, and a little bit of contact there with Kevin Zumberg and Ticho. As look at that. Squeeze to the inside wall there from Schumacher on Ticho. As Ticho tries to make this move. More contact there on the south finish straight. And Ticho now up into P4, but that looked very aggressive on all fronts there. Schumacher with the aggressive squeeze to the inside wall on the exit to the corner. Kevin obviously looking for trying to outbrake and go around the outside. An aggressive move there from Kevin, and of course Ticho on the start finish straight, contact made with Schumacher. Aggressive between TF10 and Evolution Racing Team, but everyone gets through A-OK. But a 2-second gap has now formed between the top 3 and P4. And if it was me, if I was the engineer, that now like 100% now, if I was the engineer for Evolution, there'd be the switcheroo, and that is exactly what's happening right now. Because there goes Kevin up into P5. Honestly, even without the without the 3-second, I would have said, yeah, do the switcheroo right now, because obviously the battery advantage that Kevin had compared to Schumacher was definitely apparent there. Of course, Kevin would have definitely had the better chance of putting Ticho under pressure with the battery that he has in comparison to Schumacher. But of course, now that advantage is pretty much gone as Kevin using his battery to make sure that he overtakes his teammate without much issue. A little clip of the wall there for Dirk on the inside of turn 9. Not ideal. Definitely going to need to watch that. He's 1.1 ahead of Ticho, who has pulled 1.2 ahead of Kevin now. And it looks like Kevin is falling away, as is his teammate Schumacher from the top 4. And look at that, Ticho's within the DRS window now of Dirk. And that is huge for TF10 here. That is huge for Ticho's race. Because now he's broken out of that Evolution Racing Team sandwich. And he is now going to be able to get dragged away from the 2 EVR drivers in behind, crowding with a 3-second time penalty. Dome has pitted and chucked on a set of the medium compound tyres. So potentially we could be seeing the fastest lap coming in from Dome very soon. But the interesting thing now will be once Dome catches up to Justin, how much are they going to fight? Because it's Justin and Golded that will be fighting. Like maybe it's too much of a gap. I mean, there's a possibility it's too much of a gap. I think fresh mediums, maybe. Especially if those two are fighting the way that they are right now, Golded and Justin. If these two fight, that's going to allow Dome and Thiago to close up. Is it going to be enough for them to close out to get into a battle? I don't know. But could they close out enough to take advantage of the penalties? Possibly. We'll have to wait and see how that one transpires. But the top 6 are back within a DRS train of each other. Once again, Kevin has managed to get back within the 1 second of Ticho. And Schumacher has 2 seconds to play with in terms of his 3-second time penalty to Leroy in behind. Kongan tries to look around the outside of Sergio there. Unable to get the move done there was Roller Kongan. As Ticho will now get through the AI lap car of Daniel down in P14. We are getting to the crunch time in this race. Lap 21 of 25. Sergio leads the way ahead of Olakonga in the 2nd place. Dirk in P3 making it a Shazoo double podium at this moment in the race. And then, of course, Ticho in P4. All 4 of these guys are relatively even in terms of the ERS. Kevin Zumberg right there in P5. He's a little bit worse off in the ERS, but he definitely will be able to save up a bit of battery now in the DRS range. Schumacher, that 3-second time penalty means he's out of the top 5 contention unless someone else picks up a 3-second themselves. For him, it's sticking in this train and making sure he does not fall victim to Leroy in P7. Then, of course, we got Justin and Golded in 8th and 9th. And then, of course, we got Dome trying to close that gap down. Thiago, 3.5 seconds up the back of Dome. So, I think Dome will have enough grip to make sure that he stays ahead of Thiago. But we'll have to see what happens. Sergio holding on to the race lead. Ahead of Olakongan, ahead of Dirk. Ticho up there ahead of Kevin Zumberg, and Schumacher's into the pits. It's an interesting call from Schumacher to come into the pits. He's put on a set of the medium compound tyres. He's going to lose out now to Justin and Golded on track. Oh, saying that, he gets immediately past Justin on the exit. So there we go, strike what I just said down. But I'm not sure if that was the right call for Schumacher. Of course, he was nailed on for P6. He had the gap to Leora. Obviously, he's going for the fastest lap as well. Which, you can respect the fastest lap attempt. But I don't see the strategy in going for the fastest lap and just giving up the track position. I mean, he's lost a point by giving up track position, and he's looking to try and gain a point, and it's not guaranteed because someone else could come into the pits and set a fastest lap. Thiago, for example, could be in the pits and go for fastest lap. We'll have to see what happens there, but in my opinion, that potentially might be a bit of a mistake from Schumacher. Ticho there, literally flirting with that inside wall through turn 4. Dirk holding on firm. Volokongan holding on firm. Sergio holding on firm. This is going to be DRS mind games now for the final couple of laps. It is too late for the safety car to be deployed. So it is all going to come down to the DRS games. And there's 5 drivers within the chance of taking a victory here tonight. ET8's Sergio, Volokongan and Dirk for Shazoo Cedar Igniters, Ticho for TF10 Esports, and then of course we got Evolution Racing Team's Kevin Zumberg, all in the hunt for the race win here. And look at this, Ticho tries to send one on the inside, unable to get it done on Dirk, trying to get himself into 3rd place, into position to potentially try and slingshot on the final lap, but we're on the penultimate lap of the race right now. And right now, if you're a betting man, you think that both Shazoo drivers will overtake Sergio at the end of the race, as we have the fastest lap coming in from Schumacher. So he does get the fastest lap. So he hasn't lost any points. In fact, he's just given Leora an extra point. But this is where it can get a little bit interesting. If anyone else comes into the pits and goes for fastest lap, then it's interesting because you've got Crowden and Aaron now coming through, and neither of them look like they're coming into the pit. So yeah, Schumacher should definitely have the fastest lap of the race, that is for sure. And he is closing up to the back of Leora at a rapid rate of knots, so maybe he could actually build that gap. Who knows? As look at this now. Dirk all over the back of Volokongan and his teammate. Backs off, and that might allow Ticho a potential opportunity, but no, Ticho not going to go for it. As we're about to begin the final lap of the race. Right now, Volokongan and Dirk are in prime position to get a 1-2 result here. Sergio, he's led the race. He's been absolutely fantastic, but he's got 2 Shazoo drivers in behind, hounding him, putting him under pressure. Ticho there in P4, just looking for an opportunity to try and get through on one of these guys, get a podium for a TF10. Kevin looking to try and take advantage of whatever happens in front. He's got the ERS to take advantage as well, does Kevin. So we'll see as final lap of the race. Look at this now, Schumacher all over the back of Leroy. Yeah, he's not pulling 3 seconds in the remainder of the lap. So I think Schumacher, he's not lost any points, because the point that he lost by giving up. Oh! We have a car off. Was that Thiago? I'm not sure what happened there. I just saw a I think that might have been Justin that has fallen victim there. Ticho has dropped away from the top 3. And now The final DRS straight, the run down in towards turn 27. Sergio has done absolutely fantastic to build the gap, and he might just have enough to hold on here, and he will have enough to hold on into the final corner. But remember, there's DRS all the way to the line, and Volokongan is on the battery. But is he going to get close enough? I don't think he will. It'll be Sergio for ET8 taking victory. It's a Shazoo double podium though, as Teacher will hold on to P4 ahead of Kevin. Schumacher across the line in P6, but he'll drop the P7. Leroy in P6. And now we'll have Justin in P8, Golded in P9. Tiago will come through to pick up P10 in this race, just ahead of Dome, who I think beat him across the line by 0.02 of a second, but that 3 second from Dome drops him down into 11th place, and that would have been a great drag race right to the end. I thought Tiago potentially finished ahead of him though, but there is Crowden now to cross the line in P12, and Aaron to complete the race, to end the race here in Jeddah, P13. The yellow flag that we saw on the final lap really, it looked like it was one of the guys in the front that caused the yellow flag, but I'm guessing it was one of the drivers in the midfield. But yeah, very unfortunate for the yellow flags, and I think that potentially did make the likes of Ticho and obviously Kevin Zumberg lose a bit of time to the top three. As, ladies and gentlemen, your final classifications here for round number 4 at Jeddah is, of course, Sergio with the race win, Volokongan in second place with Dirk in P3, making it a Shazoo double podium. Ticho for TF10 in P4 with Kevin Zumberg for Evolution Racing Team in P5, Leora in P6, Schumacher with the fastest lap in P7 with Justin in P8, Golded in P9, and Tiago complete in the top 10. Outside of the top 10 picking up points, we have Dome, Crowden and Aaron. And then, of course, our non-finishers were, of course, Daniel, Callum, Lifeboat, Devil and Predestinado. But what a win from ET8. What a win from Sergio. An incredible victory from the ET8 man. He just managed to build enough of a gap on that final lap to make sure that he had enough of a gap to hold on to P1 at the end, which is absolutely fantastic for him. Of course, his damage limitation for ET8 due to Lifeboat, unfortunately, DNFing here tonight. Damage limitation, Shazoo pick up a double podium, so they will definitely be climbing the gap that was 4 points coming into the start of the race. Obviously, with ET8 picking up the point for the pole position, it went down to 4 points. That gap is now definitely a lot more than 4 points. But where will we be going next week for round number 5? I wonder, ladies and gentlemen. We will be heading to Baku. Yes, we are heading to Azerbaijan for round number 5 of the championship, where, of course, it will be a sprint race around the streets of Baku. And Baku, just like Jeddah, very unforgiving circuit with the walls and that castle section. That castle section, so easy to get wrong, so easy to clip a little bit of the inside or the outside of the entry into the castle. So easy to break a bit of front wing, so easy to DNF there. And the one thing with Baku as well is that there's the threat of rain being in Azerbaijan. And then, of course, round number 6, we'll be heading to Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been Jeddah here in CTC's console championship Massive congratulations to Sergio on the race victory. But of course, before we wrap things up tonight, again, a massive thank you to our sponsors at Pivot Media, the marketing agency offering graphic and video designers to elevate your brand or business. And of course, Virtual Setup Engineer, where of course is the brand new setup shop for all your setup needs, offering setups for all the circuits, all the tracks, plus a custom chat box so you can customize the setup to your driving style. And of course to our sponsors with Gridfinder as well. Guys, that has been round number 4 here in the console championship for CTC. I have been Michael Edwards, and we'll catch you next week for round number 5 as we head to the streets of Baku. Until then, guys, it is good night from me. Good night.